Hello, everyone. My name is Casey, also known as the Heart of Reviews, and today I'm bursting at the seams to say that we have a very special guest, Russell Hainline, the writer of several Hallmark Christmas movies this year alone. So we have Christmas Under the Lights, The Santa Claus, co-writing Three Wiser Men and a Boy with Kimberly Sustad and Paul Campbell, of course, and then Hot Frosty on Netflix. And if you haven't seen anything from this year, there's also the Santa Summit and In Merry Measure. So thank you, Russell, for joining us. We're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you, Casey, for having me. I appreciate it. I want to shout out too. I got this nifty zip up from Ben Ayers like last night. My boy Ben hooked me up with the merch, so I decided I'd wear it here. It's very comfortable. I strongly recommend it to anybody watching this if you want to shell out. And look, it feels very seasonal, right? It's got the hearts, it's got the reindeer, it's got everything.
Yeah, Romance University, really on it with the merch.
Crushing it. Ben knows no other way than to crush it.
Ben, of course, starring in The Santa Claus, out soon. Yeah.
Out December 14th. Yeah, it's the big Saturday premiere. I hope we get to see a trailer soon. I think there should be something coming pretty soon. But I cannot wait. I know a lot of people, it always feels like with the Thanksgiving movies that's where like the huge push is, and then when I look online, people are assessing what the Hallmark Christmas season looked like after the Thanksgiving. I want to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's at least one big movie coming, and it's a big ensemble comedy, and it's got, some big people in it with Kim and Ben, and it's a huge, like, the whole cast is fantastic, and it's very funny. So, especially if you like things that are a little more comedy forward, this definitely has that. It's got the heart to it too. I'm really, really excited about the Santa Claus. I can't wait for people to see it.
Yeah, I was on the Christmas Aficionados YouTube back in October with a bunch of people, and we were all saying our top 5 most anticipated Hallmark movies. And the Santa Claus was on my list, but I think it was on other people's too, simply because your name
Right.
was attached to it, as well as,
Oh, stop.
Ben and Kimberly. No, I mean,
Yeah,
legitimately,
Kim
that's
Sustad,
what we
Ben
were talking
Ayers,
about.
right? That's but I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's a very look, I think I'm still new enough at Hallmark that like, I know I've made a few movies now, and I'm very, very grateful for that, but I still feel like uh I'm establishing for people like what a me movie is, right?
Mhm.
And I do think, much like the Santa Summit and much like Wiser Men, and Hot Frosty, honestly, that this is a thing that's very comedy. There's a bit of magic to it. It's still got that heart to it. It's very ensemble, much like Hot Frosty's got like the town, and Santa Summit's got the friend groups and everything else. And Wiserman obviously got the whole family. This also has like a whole school of people that we get to know. And again, I'm bursting at the seams of myself. It's been a very, very cool year. So I can't wait for people to see it.
Great. Well, now we are going to start getting inspiration for a new Hallmark movie using the Unofficial Hallmark Christmas movie board game, which my viewers have seen before.
Great.
So since you are my guest, I will let you start first. So to start, if you could pick who your leading lady is going to be,
Oh
uh,
my
as
God.
well as your leading lady's job.
Oh boy, this is like pulling teeth. How dare you? Um,
I won't tell
you
anyone
know,
if you don't choose them.
uh, I feel compelled to like pick somebody that I haven't worked with, just because I don't want to play favorites. But then when we get down to the men and I pick somebody that I have worked with already, then it's gonna be that much sillier. I'm gonna go with Bethany Joy Lenz. I think that you know she's somebody whose work I've always liked. I don't think she had a movie this Christmas year. Am
Mm-mm.
I crazy?
You're correct. It's very
Um,
sad.
I have not had an opportunity to work with her yet. I mean, Lacey, Kim, Hunter. I mean, we're talking about heavy hitters down the line. There's a number of Heather is also fantastic. I don't know who saw Christmas Under the Lights. Her crying scene in it is just outstanding. She's great otherwise, but I'm always impressed when people can cry really well. So, I'm gonna go with someone I have not gotten to work with, somebody who I feel like I didn't get to see this year. I'll go with Bethany.
That's great. I literally just had her in my hand because I was gonna pick her, so
Oh
it's
no.
okay. It's okay. I can pivot. I can pivot. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Brooke Dorsey 'cause she's
Okay.
lovely also.
Do you have
Great.
little do you have like pieces with their faces on it and
Yeah,
things?
I have tiny little pieces.
I love that. That's so great.
And then if you could pick her job as well, what's Joy gonna do this time?
Oh boy. I mean, it's such a cliche for me. I feel like every movie that I have done has teachers in it, which I think just means I need to pick teacher. I need to stay on brand. And let's let her teach.
Great. I also had the teacher card in my hand because I was thinking about it. Perfect. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go with writer.
Okay, appropriate.
Yeah. Okay, great. Perfect. So now first roll is yours.
Okay. Let me get my dice. Now, how many dice do I roll?
Just one.
Just one. Okay. I have these special dice I got from a brewery in California called Firestone Walker. Um, Very cool, like branded instead of a one, it's got the FW on it. So you're just gonna trust me with how I roll here?
Absolutely. If you're lying to me, I'll never know, but I
All
will
right,
roll
it's a
it to find
three.
out.
I also don't know how the game is played, so it'd be impossible for me to cheat.
That's true.
I rolled a three.
Great. Okay, so how this works is basically this section is just racing towards whoever gets to choose setting first. If we
Mm.
were playing with Christmas spirit points, which we are not, you would lose 5 Christmas spirit points, and the square says your father dreams of you running the mill, -5 Christmas spirit. Um,
Sure.
so the white spaces do not have to be used in the movie. It's only when you get cards. So Joy has to be a
Okay.
teacher at some point in the movie. Um, yeah, these are more for inspiration. And for
Okay.
people who don't know anything about Hallmark, I think it helps them get a basis and they can just play with the spirit points because they don't really care about writing a movie. I got the same thing.
Okay. Lots of fathers with mills.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Let's roll again. I've rolled a five.
Perfect. You've hit setting. So now you get to be the first to choose what your setting will be.
Oh boy. Let's see. I am looking at my options. Something falls is pretty funny. Uh, Everybody always teaches in the hometown. Let's I'm working on something right now that's set in Chicago and I'm really enjoying it. So let's go with Chicago. She teaches in Chicago.
Perfect. I've chosen the hometown. Might as well. Go classic.
Sure.
Great. Um, your role.
My roll. Okay, let's see. I have rolled a four.
Perfect. 2, 3, 4. This is the meet cute section. You yell at the Santa when he takes off his beard in public.
Mm,
It's just a pet peeve of my own.
sure.
3, 4, 5. Okay, I have hit the Hallmark hunk and his job, which is too much pressure.
Oh boy.
If you roll, I imagine you'll be there soon too.
Yes.
I don't know what to choose. Okay. Okay. I'm picking Luke McFarlane,
Nice.
and he's going to be a musician.
Love it. So it's my roll.
Yes.
All right. Let's do this. Uh I'm gonna I'm gonna re-roll because it landed on the side of my lap. So here we go. Okay, I rolled a three.
Perfect. It is now your turn to choose a hunk and his job.
Man. Uh This is also where like I'm gonna be at such a disadvantage because I don't know the rich history of like the old era of Hallmark. So like the chances that like who has Bethany Joy Lenz been with before? I don't want to recreate something. Like so
Yeah,
help me out here.
she's
She
done
obviously was
Andrew
with Blaha
Walker.
and Biltmore.
Yep, Christopher Plaha, Andrew Walker,
Okay.
Tyler Hines in An Unexpected Christmas, which is a great one.
All right, we're ruling out a lot of my people. I like that.
Yeah, these are the ones I can think of. I know there have been more.
Okay. Man, just because I was talking with him recently, and I think it would be well, I was talking with a couple of these guys recently, now that I'm looking at it. Uh, I just I want to give Paul Campbell a swing of the bat here. I think that Paul um he's versatile, he's funny. I definitely want whatever this is that I end up doing in the game. I want it to be something funny. He can definitely play a lot of different comedy stuff. He's not afraid to look completely ridiculous, which I really admire. Um, so let's go with Paul. He's also good and tall. I don't know how tall Bethany Joy Lenz is, but I don't think we'll have to worry about any sort of height discrepancy there.
Mm-hmm.
Because Paul's a tall boy. I
It's fine.
wrote, funny enough, I wrote into at one point in the Wiser Men draft that I did. I read that they were going to like a Home Depot or whatever to get supplies to build the sets, and I thought it would be a really funny bit if when they were there, they were wearing the candy cane outfits and they were looking ridiculous, and they had to encounter somebody who worked at the Home Depot. And in my mind, it was somebody who's like huge, who's like the size of like an offensive lineman or whatever. And so then like Paul has to go up in the like goofy outfit and like ask for help, and I thought that'd be so funny. But in the thing, I was like, this person, is much bigger than Paul. And the first note I got was, we're not gonna find anybody bigger than Paul. Like we're not going to be able to make that work, I don't think. And I was like, how tall can he possibly be? But he's like 6'2" or whatever. So I don't know. I guess they didn't think they could find any like 6'8", big stout Canadians to play that role. So that hit the cutting room floor. Um Love interest job. So she
Mhm.
is a teacher.
Yes.
Um what would Paul be? We're gonna have Paul play an actor.
Nice.
Paul is gonna be an actor. A little self-referential. I love that. I'm a big fan of that. So, we'll have the teacher, we'll have the actor. I think that's a good combo.
Perfect. And can you talk a little bit about how you started with Hallmark? I heard a little bit about it earlier, but how did this come about? Were you a Hallmark fan?
No, I never objected to them, but I was unfamiliar. I was just completely unfamiliar. I had the good fortune of writing a Christmas script in 2019, maybe early 2020, because I had been doing a bunch of horror thriller stuff and I was tired of finding creative ways of killing people, is a line that I always like to say. But it's also true. It's not just a line, it's also reality. So I uh, wrote this Christmas movie. It was inspired by my sort of like relationship with my big rescue pit bull I had. And it was about like a boy and a reindeer and his mom and, stuff like this. And I got it into the hands of a producer who does a bunch of Hallmark movies by the name of Jack Grossbart, who a mutual friend got me in touch with. And Jack sort of took me under his wing and taught me what I needed to know in terms of here are things we think we can get away with. Here are things we can't. Here are, some pointers that I've learned over the years. Now, Jack obviously had been producing under the previous regime. So I don't think he was even completely aware of how things were about to shift. So I came in at just the right time, but he was the one who produced In Merry Measure. He and Linda Kent produced In Merry Measure, and that's how I got connected with Hallmark, how I got connected with my manager. That's how I met a bunch of new people. That's certainly how I got the Santa Summit job. And then once Santa Summit came out, that opened a lot of doors because people generally liked that one, which really excited me. And, now it's just about keeping the snowball rolling down the hill, right? It's about making friends with everybody. And everybody that I've met has been so nice and cool and creative and thoughtful. And so I'm really enjoying where I'm at, and I occasionally get merch from Ben Ayers out of it. So, what more could a person want?
Second follow-up question. How has this changed your relationship with Christmas? Or what was your relationship with Christmas now writing a million Christmas movies?
That's a great question. That's not one I've been asked yet on this circuit. Good for you. Uh, um, how has it changed? I definitely appreciate uh the feelings that people have towards it. I'm somebody that for a while now, like traveling during the holidays gives me a great deal of anxiety. Being around a ton of people gives me a great deal of anxiety. We just had Thanksgiving here in LA with most of my family, and that was very, very cool. And I love them all, but it was also a lot. And so I really like a nice, quiet, not insane Christmas. So generally, my wife and I just stay in LA and we do a very low key, very quiet Christmas. And so I think that um, I don't want to say it disconnected me from the notion that everybody had all of their traditions and that everybody has the things that they do, but it did, I think, put me in a bubble for a bit, a nice, relaxing, safe, bubble. And the more I work on these movies, the more I remember things that either I used to do or that my friends told me they did, or certainly I do a lot of research and I find out cool things that they do. So, I mean, this year, even though it's just going to be my wife and I again for Christmas, I think we're gonna try and go out and do more. Like we're gonna try and like hit like a Christmas pop-up bar maybe, or we're gonna go to a tree farm. We're gonna try and play with some of the things that people really like doing, and maybe see if we can pick up some new traditions, right? Things for out here in LA that we would do in the sort of lead up weeks to Christmas, which usually I'm usually a little busy, but we're gonna try some things this year. So I think that is probably how it's changed. I also admit that my first drafts, when I turn them in, I know everybody is told put more Christmas in it. Everybody is always told put more Christmas in. I definitely am always told put more Christmas in because to me, Christmas is about it. It's been less about these tangible traditions and it's been more about the people you're around and the weather and the world, right? So I definitely have to be aware as I write to try to make sure that the traditions that people generally enjoy every holiday season, that I'm including enough of them, that I'm acknowledging that that's a huge, huge part of Christmas for so many people. Um, so yeah, I think I'm gonna try to get in a little more on that. I'm gonna try to get back to that a little bit, but while also enjoying my quiet Christmas at home.
That makes sense. I'm very similar, I think. And I do feel like, I mean, I obviously love Hallmark movies, but I do feel sometimes the pressure of like, oh my God, I'm not decorating 17 gingerbread houses that everyone in these Hallmark movies is doing. Um,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, pretty much for me, growing up, Christmas was just sitting at home and watching these movies. And now I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like that I'm an adult, I need to go out and do things in the community. But no, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
My mom, she saw Wiser Men
Mhm.
and was immediately like, and I won't name like any names here, but she was like, that people on our block are already putting up their Christmas lights. They got their Christmas lights up before we did. It's a very like haul out the holly kind of
Mhm.
situation in a sort of nice neighborhood of Florida where my where my parents live. So I think there's connection to stuff that everybody observes, if not actively takes a part of, during the holiday season. For anybody who watches these Hallmark movies, they'll find them there.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. It is your role.
My roll. Let's do it. I have rolled a 4.
Perfect. We got the same thing, which is that the CGI snow doesn't smell like fish, which is a good thing. Candace Cameron
That
Bure
is a
one
good thing.
time said that the snow they were using on her movies smelled like fish.
Wait,
So
who said this?
Candace Cameron Bure.
uh I don't know what they used to use. Maybe at one point they did. I have not encountered any fishy snow.
That's good.
Uh, I will say that the snow for Hot Frosty, because the budgets at Netflix are obviously bigger than the budgets at Hallmark, there, when you watch those wide shots, there's not a lot of CGI there. It's a
Yeah.
lot of the, like, at one point they were trying to get more snow, and I think they were negotiating with like the fake snow company or whatever, and they were like, well, we've got to reserve like a lot for Guillermo del Toro's new movie. So like, are we gonna get, so like I was like, oh, we're getting like the Guillermo del Toro
Mhm.
snow. All right,
Yeah.
sweet. I like that. It's not just blankets. It's it's pretty good. But I do think that a lot of, depending on who you're working with at Hallmark, you can find people who are really savvy about making it look less glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
We've all seen the ones where it's obvious,
Oh
but
yeah. The shaving cream
um
ears. Not pretty.
I've never encountered shaving cream. That's wild. I've never seen that, but I believe it, Yeah, absolutely. That's funny.
Yeah. Perfect. What did I roll? I got a romantic moment. Most of
Ooh.
the romantic moment cards are interrupted kisses.
Mm,
Yep, yeah. Interrupted kiss, phone call. Nice. Great.
nice.
It is your role.
Okay, although I feel like if it's the very next square, I will probably also get to that. I've rolled a 2.
Ooh, you get no plot. No plot so far. Red and green suits you, obviously. It's
Oh,
joy.
so it's not one of the ones where it stops. I
Yeah, it's
see.
not one of the
Okay.
stopping ones. It's
Okay, good to
pure
know.
luck. Two, three. I got another romantic moment. This is not gonna be good for me. I
Boy.
just played this with my friend's family, and I got 5 interrupted kisses in one film. Yeah, interrupted crit kiss. The tree gets lit. Great,
Ooh. Have I
great.
used that one? I used the tree getting lit, but I don't think I did it as an interrupted kiss. I wonder if I did. Uh oh, Christmas Under the Lights might have had a little bit of that. Not a Christmas
Hmm.
tree.
Mm-hmm. But
Might have had a
lights.
little might have had a
Yeah.
little bit of that. I try to avoid the inorganic interrupted kisses. I
Hmm.
definitely try to make it like, I try to make it something where I know I've had a couple of movies where one of the characters stopped instead of
Yeah.
being interrupted. One of the characters said,
Hmm.
"No, we shouldn't proceed." Um,
Yeah, I said this in my review for Hot Frosty, but the interrupted kiss in Hot Frosty, not to spoil anything, just absolutely made me cry. Like I was just
oh,
sitting there
great.
with tears falling down, and I was shocked that an interrupted kiss could produce that sort of emotion.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I don't think there were any in Santa Summit that I can recall. In Merry Measure also had where the one of the people pulled back.
Hmm.
Um, Christmas Under the Lights, I don't know if it was a pure interrupted kiss. There's definitely a scene where they're standing very close to one another and
Yes.
they're debating it, and
Yeah.
then they ultimately don't go that way. Yeah, I just try not to do the like classic, unless it's gonna be really funny. Oh shoot, I don't want to spoil anything for a future movie. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking. All right, it's
Okay.
my roll.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. I rolled a 6.
Great. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, good. You got a Christmas activity. You've gotten some plot.
Okay,
This card, there's not really plot. The town's Christmas tree lighting is so beautiful that you cry.
sure. I mean, I'm sure in Chicago they have some great huge trees. So that
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
absolutely. Um, so I have seen on your Instagram that you are a lover of genuine cinema, of real movies that get released in theaters.
Sure.
So how do you deal with the stigma of creating Hallmark movies? And has that been a problem in your life? Something you've had to explain to people who think that Hallmark, it's not a real movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are people who turn their noses up at TV movies in general. I think that that's true. I think it's been true. Even before Hallmark, when they were called movies of the week, you
Mhm.
know. I think uh, I look at it in a couple of different ways, right? I definitely don't view Hallmark as every once in a while you'll encounter somebody who is like, Hallmark is good while I'm working on the next thing. And sometimes I'll have people ask me, well, what's the next thing? Like what do you do when you get beyond Hallmark? And like I told them I'm happy writing for Hallmark. Like they're definitely expanding what their sandbox is that I can play in. They're happy with me. The people that I work with have all been nice. I have not encountered any jerks in terms of, the talent or the producers. The people are very thoughtful. Uh, they work quickly and they work efficiently, which I like. A lot of quote unquote like the theatrical movies. Often I've got friends who write those and they take years and years and years and years to make. I'm I mean, am I interested in doing something like that? Sure. Right. Like I don't want to say I'm not, but also I get better every time I try to write something and I learn new things every time I write. So and every time I go to a production, every time like something gets made, I definitely learn more. Every time I see an end product of something that I've written, I learn so much. So if I'm only making one movie every 5 years or whatever, it's compressing the amount that I can learn as a storyteller and as somebody who's trying to make movies and trying to entertain people, certainly. So I definitely do not view it that way at all. I would love. I was talking to. Well, it's a shameless name drop on a Hallmark podcast, but I was talking to Tyler Hines about this exact same thing, and he he too was like, even if he and I went on and made movies that did theatrical releases and big things, we would keep wanting to make Hallmark movies.
Mm.
We would still enjoy, as long as like something doesn't
Yeah.
grotesquely change in how Hallmark operates. But you know, you mentioning quote unquote like genuine cinema. I know on Instagram I post a lot of things from like the 30s and the 40s, like old movies. That's the other thing that I really like about Hallmark is that they operate like an old movie studio where they make a bunch of movies for reasonable budget. They're not making these $200 million budget things, and then if one of them fails, then their entire next year is shot, right? Like they're committed to giving people chances. They're committed to trying to build up a roster, right? Like we all know a number of people who started as like the best friend, who then
Mhm.
become the lead, who now are like big name people for the network. And they might not be people that like the lay person who does not enjoy Hallmark movies, they might not know those people, but to people who love Hallmark movies, these are stars. These are straight up movie stars. And, again, at a time when movie stars seem to be going the way of the dodo, I think doing something where you can do star driven stories, where you can tell stories and make movies that are uh, very much rooted in here is somebody who is charismatic that the audience likes already. Um, I have made it a point anytime I work with people, so all the people that I've worked with so far, I try really hard to get to know these people and to see what they're about and see what kind of movies they like to make and what their ambitions are within Hallmark and how can I work with a star or a director or whatever to try and tell something that excites us both. And when it's something that has somebody with some stock that the fans hold, right? Like that maybe makes a movie a little easier to make, right? That might make something might grease the old wheels, right? So I really like that there's room to do things in the way that like an old studio might have also operated. And I think it would be wise of Hallmark to continue to operate that way, the way they've been operating. Um, and I think it would be wise for the stars of these Hallmark movies and the people who write them, like myself and whatever, to try to say, okay, we see opportunity to tell really cool stories that, if they're set at Christmas and they have some traditions and a kiss at the end, we can tell a variety of stories. Like that Christmas Quest movie this weekend, I really, really liked because it was so different. It was so different. Uh, it helps that I also love Iceland and I love treasure hunts and I love Lacey. So that, it made it a lot easier for me. Uh, that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but the short answer is if people turn their noses up at it, that's their right. I mean, there are things that everybody loves that I would turn my nose up at. There are certainly other things that are non-Hallmark that I love that other people do not. Um, I would rather be working on something that people either really like or really don't than something that people are completely indifferent towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very long answer to your question.
No, that was great. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I like the relating it to like an old studio. I feel like they definitely take care of their people. Like I was talking to my coworker who watched one of the movies this weekend, and I won't name which, and she did not like it. She thought it was really
Mm,
boring. And for me, so much of the charm of it was in the actors that I know and love from so many other movies. And so like I
sure.
guess, to me they feel like family, and to an outsider they're not there yet, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that it's I think that it would continue to be wise for like I'm gonna tank who was with which studio back in the day, but when you would go see a Warner Brothers movie, you knew you'd see Cary Grant or Lauren Bacall or Edward G. Robinson or like you'd see your buddies, right? You'd see your pals. I think that's a huge component of it. I really do, and I think that obviously like Andrew and Paul and Tyler and Kim were very savvy to put together Wise Men in a way that again uh really harnesses that idea of these are our buddies, these are our pals. Let's hang out with them. And then they're able to do some cool things from a storytelling perspective, right? Paul's character can have anxiety and have to deal with that. And, Tyler's character can be a bit more of a quote unquote loser, right? Like a bit more of a ne'er-do-well than maybe some of the men in these movies generally tend to be. So yeah, I think the more that Hallmark gives people those opportunities,
Mhm.
I think the more that the actors take advantage of those opportunities, they're just really good things that can continue to happen in this space. I mean, like I'm very excited about what 2025 holds and beyond. I think some of the things that I'll have coming out in 2025, knock on wood, would be very different and very cool and very interesting and would have, again, knock on wood, some very cool people in it. So we'll see. We'll see.
Thanks. I wish you luck with all of the irons in the fire.
Yeah, more than anything right now, I've got to try and finish them. That's
Sure.
that's my big problem is, making sure they all get done in time. I know that I have a couple that would love to shoot closer to the beginning of the year so that we have like cold weather,
Yeah.
instead of having people wearing down jackets in August in Canada, right? I think it would be really cool to do that. I love nothing more than, and you could see it in Christmas Quest, they have the air. You could see the air, right? Like I think that it lends such a an air, no pun intended, of authenticity that you can't replicate unless you're shooting when the weather is cold. So I really want to try to have a couple of the things I have planned this year shoot more towards the beginning of the year, but then that means I have to work a little faster, and that more important than anything, it has to be good. That seeing the air of the breath that they breathe is not nearly worth a hill of beans if the movie isn't good. So, um, yeah, we'll see what happens. What
Nice.
what square did you land on? I saw you moved.
Yes, I landed on you say sorry in a Canadian accent, -5 Christmas spirit. But now it is your roll.
My roll, let's see. I only rolled a 2, but I see it's a
Okay.
dark square.
Yes, you get a romantic moment.
Interrupted kiss. What did I get?
Oh, not an interrupted kiss. This is
Ooh.
big. You accidentally touch hands over hot cocoa. +10
Now
spirit.
I've definitely done a number of accidental hand touches.
Yeah.
That I do have. I think I feel like that speaks more to like how like when you're a kid and you get really excited about some like new prospect of romance. It always is like the backs of hands brush, or like you sit next to them in class and your knees
Mhm.
touch or whatever, right? They're these very charged moments. So I do like those. I definitely go back to that well, more than the interrupted kisses for
Yeah.
sure.
My dad and I call that Hallmark engaged. Um,
Sure.
yeah.
Great. I have not done a knees touch. I think
That'd be
that
big.
would be borderline scandalous.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll try to put that into something in 2025, maybe some knees touching. We'll see if we
sure.
can make that happen.
So your voice is, shall we say, a little different than what recent Hallmark is used to. And I know you talked about coming in during the after the old regime, which is great. And obviously, I've been watching since 2009, since Mrs. Miracle with Erin, who's in Three Wiser Men, and absolutely crushes it, is amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't she
and
great?
she's so good. And 2009 to like 2011, 12 Hallmark has such a different style, way more like current Hallmark, like the
Hmm.
movies we're seeing right now. Has it ever been a problem, the things you're putting into scripts, the younger references, your voice in general?
No, I don't think so. There are things that I pitch that uh I feel confident people will say no to, that then they don't. That
Mm,
then, I mean, again, Santa Summit, pitching something where our leads only have 2 scenes together was definitely something I was not convinced would win people over. There are things in Santa Claus, some surprises that I shan't reveal, but there are some things there that I was very, very confident, like to the point where I didn't put it in an outline. I did not ask for permission. I just put it in, and I was like, let's see what we can get away with here. And people have been very, very down. I mean, I think they really value the new. I think they value things being uh different, to the point where when sometimes when I pitch things, they will say that feels a little like old Hallmark,
mm,
right? Uh, they are actively, I don't want to say fighting it, because if the movie is right, if it's right for the movie, like Christmas Under the Lights is obviously a bit more traditional in its construction, maybe not in like its ultimate execution, but in its
mm,
construction. Um, and again, I wasn't sure whether they'd say yes to that because I knew it was so traditional. There's a scene with the mother at the end where, for if people haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil, but I think that's the sort of thing that normally they're like, we don't do like this type of scene in these things. Or maybe they had at one point and they don't anymore. I don't know. But if the story is right for something that's more old school, then I think that's great. But I do tend to try to push. And
yeah,
at least so far, I have not encountered too much. The only things that would be said no to are things that are budgetary.
sure.
Like I think in Santa Summit, the sledding scene, I'm sure I said this in an interview somewhere, but I had a big sledding scene in Merry Measure that I loved that we just couldn't do because it was the summer and you
Yeah.
can't do a sledding scene in the summer. And so when they were shooting Santa Summit in Winnipeg and it was 0 degrees outside, I was so excited that now we were going to get to do my sledding scene, and I was really stoked about that. So it's usually just budget stuff. I think in terms of whether it's younger or new or different or whatever, those things at least for me, they have really encouraged.
Nice. Well, that
Yeah,
is excellent to hear.
I agree.
Okay, I have also gotten a Christmas activity. Oh, great. I save a local landmark from being demolished.
It's important. It's
Yeah,
important. Got to save those
absolutely.
landmarks. I have rolled a 4.
Okay. You learned to really love Canada.
I do
Congratulations.
love Canada. I love Canada so, so much.
I got another Christmas activity. I build a gingerbread mansion. Great, wonderful,
Ooh.
excellent.
I like gingerbread in these movies. I think that you can find a number of ways of doing fun, weird gingerbread things.
Mhm.
Obviously, Santa Summit's gingerbread thing was slightly different than like the Wiser Men
Mm.
gingerbread thing. I don't know if that gingerbread thing was in there before I got there or not, but I knew that I liked how it was sort of a competition between Paul's character and Pastor Roy. I kind of liked that. I don't remember if there's gingerbread in, maybe there's gingerbread in passing in Christmas Under the Lights. Um, but yeah, I think gingerbread's very versatile as
Mhm.
a Christmas activity. So that's a good one.
Absolutely. Your
So let's
role.
see. Is it my roll?
Yes.
I've learned to love Canada, and now I have rolled a 2.
Perfect. We're just gonna put you on 3 and I'll tell
Ooh. Okay, great, because I need an
getting you more
activity.
plot. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Again, zero plot in this at all. You eat a delicious pastry from the local cafe. Congratulations.
Another thing that I think is fairly versatile. I think
Yeah,
pastries, because it could be a variety of pastries.
it's true.
There's a really cool. Ooh, it's in a. See, I'm getting in trouble now because I'm thinking of the things that I've recently written that hopefully will come out in 2025. But there's a cool pastry related scene maybe that you'll get to see in 2025. Knock on wood,
I'll
if it
have to
happens.
remember. Pastry related scene,
That's
maybe.
also even if that movie doesn't happen, there'll probably be a pastry scene in a different one, right?
Sure.
But yeah, but pastries are cool. And certainly anything that involves eating dessert is a
Mhm.
Christmas activity that I like. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Um, Other things that you tend to put in your movies, other than gingerbread and pastries, is very vulnerable, sensitive men. Which I feel like I guess in Hallmark we see that more than in other types of movies, but I even feel that in Hallmark we don't always see that. And I
Mhm.
noticed it. I watched Hot Frosty and then I rewatched the Santa Summit like back to back. And those the those two characters I just felt were both very sensitive and very vulnerable in very similar ways. Is that Do you intend to put like messaging in your movies? Does it just come out that way?
I do. Yes, I definitely think about what the theme of the movie would be, right? Like it's got to be ultimately a movie where whatever the character is going through, it's something that means something to me. It's something that I've gone through, or it's something that I relate really hard to. I mean, in Santa Summit, certainly, like all 3 of the main women are going through things that I've gone through.
Mhm.
You've you've got to be able to connect in that way. I I just find that as it pertains to what a quote unquote traditional masculinity, right? Whatever that might entail. I just I don't know that that's the thing anymore. And maybe that's me speaking as somebody who has never been a traditional masculine guy. I did musical theater all through high school, and I've sort of marched to the beat of my own drum, so I don't feel like I've ever been. But I also have things that do tend towards something that is more traditional. I'm a huge basketball guy. Like I'll sit and watch basketball all day. I love, 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 love basketball, right? So I think that the most interesting male characters to me, the ones that I think I would like to play and the ones that I think an audience who and anybody in an audience who would be attracted to men might find appealing. I think something that's more complicated is better. I don't remember if in Santa Summit at one point in there, you'll have to tell me because you just rewatched it. Does he mention going to therapy?
I don't think so.
Then we like just danced around it. That was definitely something that was in a draft at some point, and I forget who it was that I spoke with about this, where somebody sort of said like, I don't know if like when you first meet a guy, hearing that he's in therapy is something that's like terribly attractive. And I said like, no, I think it would be viewed that way. I think it would be something that's good. Like people aren't in therapy because they're troubled. People are in therapy because they're working on themselves. People are in therapy because they want to be better people. Try to be more empathetic, try to learn how to impact a community more positively, learn how to maintain a relationship in a way that considers the partner a lot more. So, yeah, I definitely think that it's intentional to try to have a modicum of sensitivity and thoughtfulness and again, more than anything else, like we already mentioned the like, the city girl goes to the small town and the guy is there. Uh, I just never wanted to write a character where the guy would be like, I want you to quit your job. Like,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't want my wife to quit doing what she loves just because of me, nor would I want her to tell me stop writing movies, right? Like a good relationship goes both ways. A good relationship, you support the other person and their endeavors and what their passions are and what they want to do. So again, there's a very long answer to your question, but yes, I think that when people pick up on I think this movie is about this or is trying to be about this. Whether it's successful or not is up for debate, but generally that's probably something that I've thought about and thought through. And in Christmas Under the Lights,
Mhm.
there is the scene where the guy who is now he's not a small town guy, he's a big town guy living in a small town and really enjoying the small town, but he sort of tries to be a bit of a devil on the shoulder and say, I'm really enjoying being here. Maybe you also being from a big city would enjoy just spending another month with me here. You could work remotely and we could, spend some more time together. And he like sort of immediately realizes that that was over the line. He didn't think about how that would come across and like apologizes right away. But even putting something like that in there, I was a little torn about what like how to depict that because I didn't want the audience to go, "Oh, he's a small town guy who wants the big city
Mhm.
girl to quit her job and be like." Hopefully, it never read like he wanted that. But yeah, I think about those things a lot when trying to sculpt the male characters, and certainly I always have my wife read the scripts.
Yeah.
Always. She gives me a good sanity check. She'll tell me if she thinks a guy's being a jerk. She's
Mhm.
she's a great target audience member for Hallmark movies. Has her finger on the pulse.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, she keeps me sane. If I think I am going off the rails, she keeps me sane for sure.
That's great. She knows all the green flags to look out for.
She does. She does. Absolutely.
I have gotten a Christmas activity using a made up song, and it is absolutely terrible. That I can work with. I can work with that.
Made up songs are tough. Made up songs are
Yeah.
tough. I rolled a 6. There we go. I'm catching up here.
Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Romantic moment.
Uh-oh. What are we gonna get?
Oh, okay, great. You kiss at a point that's probably not the ending.
Whoa, I also love that.
Mm-hmm. That's big, big for
Um,
Hallmark.
That is big for Hallmark. Christmas Quest just did this. They kiss kind of on the earlier side. Catch Me If You Claws did that. Something that what can I say? I am playing with this as well, and I'm seeing what I can
Mm,
get away with. Because I do think before you do a big confession of like or very much like or love or whatever, you might kiss a person.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just a realistic thing. So yeah.
absolutely. I don't know if you've seen this one. There's an Andrew Walker movie from 2021 called A Maple Valley Christmas. I remember absolutely none of the movie except that at the 9-minute mark, Andrew Walker kissed a stranger. 9 minutes in,
Wow.
and I was bowled over. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think especially right now I'm working on something in which a character maybe is a bit of a a bit of a playboy, shall we say.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, and so trying to figure out exactly how to like get that across without making him seem undesirable. How do you toe that line of saying, well, this person is attractive and desirable, so they are clearly dating. And if they are clearly dating, you would think that they are clearly kissing, but you also don't want to like get too explicit with those sorts of things. I mean, I guess some of the jokes that we talked about with Mrs. Brenner and Pastor Roy sort of touched on a lot of this stuff as well, right? Like she's kind of like, yeah, we there's some suggestions in there that of things that are going down. So like that's another thing that I think would help bring more and more modernity to these movies. Uh I forget who it was who pointed out. Somebody pointed out that Paul's character says to Susie, that Steph says to Susie in Wiser Men, like, "I didn't hear you come home," or "I didn't hear you come in," or something along those lines. I forget the exact words, but like the implication that one of them is sleeping and another person is coming inside, and there's a comfort level between characters. I think that's really cool. I think
Yeah.
that's how it should be.
Yeah. I mean, back 2008, Most Wonderful Time of the Year, I think it's full of innuendos and just like very explicit ones too. And they've sort of fallen by the wayside, but are making it back to the network.
They're coming back. All the jokes about Pastor Roy being good with his
Yeah.
hands. Again, I was not sure what I could get in, and I tried to put it in as often as I could. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I don't know if they all made it in, but a lot made it in.
Yeah. And now I have so many questions about his relationship with the principal that I'm not sure I ever want answered. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe Pastor Roy is a modern dude too,
Hmm.
Why
Hmm.
not?
I got a Santa bonus, which is a
Ooh,
character or a trope. So I got character Paula Shaw, who's just an actress, but she has to be in the movie now.
great. I don't know
Yeah.
if I knew who that is. Would I
Oh,
recognize
she
the
plays
face?
the grandmother in so many of these. Sometimes she's Jewish,
Hmm.
sometimes she is not.
Great. I love that. That's very versatile. That's
Yes,
good. Yeah. I'm gonna look up this person's face. I'm gonna recognize them. I'm sure of it. Great. Is it my turn?
it
Shoot, it's my
is.
turn. I rolled a 3.
Perfect Christmas activity. I hope
Nice.
it's a real one. Okay. The gift you found is terrible and you know it.
uh, I gotta say, in Christmas Under the Lights, the terrible white elephant gift, the props department, whoever it was that got that, they outdid themselves. It was so good, so much better than I even thought it was gonna be.
It was giant and delightful.
Big creepy Santa. Love it
Hmm.
so much. Oh, I know her. I've seen this person. Great.
Yeah,
Love it.
she's great. Um, the child actors are adorable, of course.
Let's hope
Inevitable.
so.
Yeah, Paula
I've rolled a
Shaw.
2.
Oh, wonderful. I did a. Ooh, the product you're showing off is actually good. Congratulations.
Nice little Daisy Cottage cheese.
Yeah, yeah. I made a parody video about the Daisy sour cream commercials they were showing. Uh, people who don't watch the network and have never seen that commercial thought that I was absolutely insane because I did smear sour cream all over myself as suntan
Nice.
lotion. But I was committed to the
Sure,
brand.
you love it. You love the
Yeah,
sour cream.
absolutely.
I
I did a
yeah.
Mount Rushmore of Hallmark leading actresses, and I put or Hallmark actresses, and I put Paula Shaw on there because I figured she needed to be on there. And people thought that I was insane, and I was like, she's in so many movies. She's wonderful. I can't just put the
Helps.
stars.
Sure, you gotta have a character actor in
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Absolutely.
I rolled an interrupted kiss, but this time I interrupt it.
Ooh, there you go. That's a better one. I like
Mm-hmm.
that one. Let's see. I rolled a 4.
Perfect. Christmas activity. Oh, okay, great. You land a triple axel.
Nice.
Congratulations.
I love that. I love skating is another one where I want to try to put skating whenever I can.
Mm-hmm.
Skating, sledding, anything that is hard to do in Canada in the summer is always what I try to accomplish.
Perfect. Okay, great. I have made it to the conflict. I have no idea what my movie is, so I'll pick one of them. I'm gonna pick last minute travel. Seems like I could make that work. It is your role.
Yeah, you could make that work. I like a last minute travel. I feel like that's a good real like adult problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Very reasonable. Uh I'm gonna roll again. Just so I'm not so far behind.
Sure.
I rolled a 5.
Okay. Shaving cream snow gets stuck in your hair. You're now in the shaving cream era.
I'm in the shaving cream era. Fair enough.
Yes. Yes, you are. I'm in the end credits. It is your role to get to the conflict.
I rolled a 5. Am I there
Perfect.
yet?
You are.
Nice. Do I draw one or do I pick
No,
one?
you can pick whatever you want.
Okay. He's an actor, she's a teacher.
Mhm.
You know, uh I'm gonna go even though I'm getting oh it's I guess it's a -0 Christmas spirit. I love a no conflict.
Me too.
I'm
I think
going
that's
no
great.
conflict. You know, I would say that generally speaking, I do think that like something like last minute travel is reasonable, and even something like you hid your identity where like you started doing something and didn't realize it was going to turn to love, right? Like I think just anything that makes it clear that the intentions ultimately become good. I think something like the obvious lying isn't like, and I
Mhm.
don't love the you didn't see what you think you saw, you didn't hear what you think you heard. Um, I'm sure I've done it. I'm sure I will do it if I haven't done it. Sometimes the story calls for it, but I love a no conflict
Mhm.
whenever possible. Yes.
Absolutely. Nice. Well, I have all of your cards. Your movie is going to have Bethany Joy Lenz as a teacher in Chicago. Paul Campbell will be the love interest as an actor. And the things that happen in your movie. The town's Christmas tree lighting is so beautiful that you cry. You accidentally touch hands over cocoa and maybe knees, question mark.
Yes.
You eat a delicious pastry from the local cafe. You kiss. The gift you found is terrible and you know it. You land a triple axle and there's no conflict.
Uh, I mean, I think this sounds like a great movie. That sounds fantastic.
Absolutely. If you have any thoughts as to how any of those dots can connect, what the overall concept may be.
Yeah, I think that uh I think Bethany is a teacher. Maybe she's like got a young kid. I don't know if I like that, but I like that element when one can sort of weave it in. I think you have Paul playing, sort of very so somebody with a high level of self-importance, an actor who's a little self-important. Um and then you put them together. Maybe maybe he's brought into the school to do a thing. I know this is something that I've done a number of times already, but it works. It's
Mhm.
good and people like it. Or maybe let's go the other direction. Okay, this is what it is. I've
Okay.
figured it out. He is there working on a movie and there's like a little kid and the little kid needs a tutor on set. She's the tutor on set. She thinks he's a diva. He thinks she's a scold. But then, while they're working together in Chicago, they end up doing all of these fun Christmassy things and ultimately just kind of vibe out. And, the movie's a big hit. And, maybe there's a sequel. We do a sequel tag at the end. If the movie that Paul is in is gonna have a sequel, maybe then she'll need to tutor again the kid, right? Just try to build a little franchise in here. Um, I think that's where we go with it. A Christmas tutor. I know, I like that. There's a better 1 + 1 = Christmas.
Yeah.
Something that's really awful, but also I kind of like it. The worse it is, the more I like it. So yeah, I think
Nice.
that's where it is. I like it that way. I was gonna set it at the school, but I don't want to go back to that well. Let's have them on a movie set
Yeah.
and she doesn't like him and he doesn't like her. The old enemies to lovers. That's
Mhm.
always my favorite.
Classic. I did have someone ask me today if Hot Frosty was the real title. She was like, "Are you sure that that's the real title, or is that what everyone's just calling it?" And I was like, "No, I'm positive."
It was always the real title.
I did see
Absolutely.
the clapboard on the in the bloopers. It does say a different one. It's not as good.
It does, and it's not as good.
Yeah.
But I think that very quickly, I think just as quickly as people might have been concerned about the title, the concerns went away. But then once you start shooting something, you want to, or once you start a production, you want to keep the title throughout. So the period of time in which Hot Frosty had hit the bricks as a title was limited.
Hmm.
Um, and I credit a lot the talent for going to bat for the title, and I credit a lot the Netflix people for going, yeah, you're right. We do want to get on board with this title. Absolutely.
Nice. My movie, I'm realizing now, is very similar to a Three Wiser Men and a Boy plot line, but we're gonna go with it anyway.
Great.
Mine is about a writer who's obsessed with Christmas but has a lot of social anxiety, and she works at a theater, and they're putting on her
Mhm.
play. But the director, Paula Shaw, she is hospitalized and she can't do it anymore, and the theater is gonna lose all of their money, so they need to put this
Yep,
play up. They're relying on it to save this local landmark, and the writer has to go in and direct it and teach a bunch of elves to be jolly who do not want to be jolly, which is something
of
I've been
course.
dealing with recently. And Luke McFarlane is a cello player in the band for this musical, and he's helping out trying to keep the peace. And they fall in love and have a bunch of interrupted kisses. And she has no money for the set, so she has to build it out of gingerbread. Um,
Great.
and
That's good. I like that.
and the songs that she wrote are really bad, so Luke McFarlane has to help zhuzh them up. And
Sure.
then I don't know, she gets imposter syndrome at the end and tries to leave. But Luke McFarlane has to come convince her that the show is good and she's good, and they kiss and they save the theater.
I love that. I feel like that also works really well with two guys.
Mm.
I feel
Yes.
like and Luke could still be in there. I think that that would be really cool and fun. I mean, I think that mine also would work well with two guys.
I think so many
Most
Hallmark movies would, and they should
most movies
just,
would.
so many Hallmark movies would, and they should
Yeah.
really do that more.
Yeah, I'm talking to people about trying to figure out what I can do to help with that,
Good.
is all I can say. But I agree. I think it would be really cool. I think it would, again, it would lend to the modernity. I think that
Mhm.
people are fine with it in a way that at least like previous regimes might have not felt that people were. I think those previous regimes are wrong. I think that
Yeah.
people are fine with it.
And also
Most
those,
people, not all
yeah,
people, but enough people that and the people that like matter. The people who
yeah,
aren't fine with it should get on board
yeah,
right away, because they're living in the past. But like, yeah, I think that that would be a really cool thing to see uh going forward. And again, I don't know the extent to which I'm the person to tell those stories necessarily, but I'm someone who hopefully can help in some way. That's something that I would really like to do.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, in my mind's eye, those audiences have a new channel to watch if that's what they're looking for.
They do. They
Hmm.
do. I they do. I thought that the groomsmen movie with Jonathan was so lovely. Like Gay My Best Friend's Wedding is just like such a no-brainer, great idea for a movie. Um, there's just something out to tell really good and funny and romantic and like specific stories that will mean a lot to a lot of people. And that's like why we do what we do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
You've
yeah,
touched on it briefly, but one last question from my father. So thank you,
great.
Boomer. I'm not calling him a boomer. His name is literally Boomer.
I love
Um,
that.
what or where would you like to see Hallmark in 5 years?
Where would I like to see Hallmark in 5 years? I would like to see them like I don't think they need to deviate from the course much. It's going to be hard for that to not deviate some, just given that cable is going away. And, I don't know what that means for Hallmark. I don't know what the streaming thing means. I don't know in terms of like the Mystery Channel and like the mysteries, which I really like. I'd like to get involved with that. I've got a really great idea for a mystery series that maybe could come to life one day, knock on wood. I know that as cable starts to dwindle, there's probably things that are in flux, but I ultimately strongly believe that like creatively at least staying the course, allowing these movies to continue to sort of spread their wings, tell interesting stories, do things that are fun and funny. There's room for old school stuff, there's room for new school stuff. You can continue to support the careers of the people who got you here, the big stars, while also building up, a new group of people, like my girl Amy from Santa Summit. And I loved seeing her get a lead this year. I I just think that this model, this very old school model, has everything that one needs to sustain, and everything that one needs in order to come up with quality stories told well, romantic, funny stories that will matter to people, build stars. I don't know. That's a bit of a dodge, Boomer, but like I think that staying the course creatively and um continuing to push, like if the sandbox is here, how while we keep one foot in the sandbox, how far can we keep the other foot? Like what's our radius outside the sandbox that we can continue to explore? Which I think they are doing. I think they could continue to do that. um hopefully they just keep existing, and they're not bought by some soulless god awful private equity firm or whatever. Because I think that's why it's so successful. I think it's the way that it is run is precisely why why it's a valued brand and why people really like these movies and why I like doing them and why most of the people who do them like doing them.
Mm.
So that's where I'd like them to see them in 5 years. And I'd like to see me still doing them in 5 years. I'd also like to be doing my crazy martial arts movies or whatever, but I would like to still be doing these movies in 5 years. I think they're a lot of fun and really fulfilling.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for being here. Everyone watching should watch The Santa Claus on December 14th, as well
Yes.
as all of the other movies that you already have out that are on Christmas Under the Lights, The Santa Summit, In Merry Measure, The Three Wiser Men and a Boy, and Hot Frosty, of
And
course.
Hot Frosty, for
Yes.
sure.
Wonderful. Is there anything you would like to plug before we end?
No, I mean, I'm Russell H. Film everywhere on social media, all the social medias. I'm Russell H. Film. And you've named all the movies. You did my job for me. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. And goodbye, everyone. This has been The Heart of Reviews.